guests to please take their seats. During the pandemic, I should not say post-pandemic. And I'm so glad to see all our guests with their weapons and armaments to battle the virus. May the good Lord save us from the virus.
Yeah, it will go live. Yeah.
Stories, books and literature. Some of us can't get enough of it. Metaphor for us is this journey of talking, discussing and reading literature and arts. The underlying, unwritten word, the excitement of meeting authors and artists, the inspiration to write and create works that will never see the light of day until we meet the next authors, and this cycle of the birth of our books and arts and its rebirth continues. And then the pandemic happened. And again, the cycle of the last piece began. The festivals, various book festivals and literature festivals, got warped in technology, and life found a way, as they would say. Art flourished on balconies, and poetry got framed into the Android phones. We, at the Metaphor, like other festivals, tried to keep up. And then today happens. This marks our first offline festival, lest we close the year 2020 without our attendance. The Metaphor Festival is the blood and sweat of our team at the Lucknow Expression Society. We live it for 3 to 5 days after a gestation period of what seems like the elephant's birth. The pandemic may have jolted us, but it never dimmed our spirits. And as I said, like other festivals, we continued online. And today, what better day to unveil and release the masterpiece of one of our own, a most renowned educator of the city with her book on her maverick life, Ms. Zareen Vikkerjee. If this were an online festival, we would have inserted the applause, but I'm sure we can do better than that. Yes, as I was saying, Ms. Zareen Vikkerjee's book, My Way, which we are launching in collaboration with the Awadh Girls Degree College. May we have one more big round of applause? And with this book launch, we are very proud to announce that Metaphor Literature Festival 2021 is officially open now. And before I get carried away and talk more about what our literature festival is, I would first like to invite on stage Mrs. Dr. Upma Chaturvedi to officially welcome our guest and introduce all our esteemed guests for today.
Though I was supposed to say, I can see, I don't want to say guess. I feel that each one of you is a family member, and your heart and soul, it connects with Ma'am Vikkerjee. So you are here because of her, and I am very extremely proud that I am part of this institution, and I am welcoming each one of you. Thank you so much.
Before we officially begin with our book launch, I'll quickly just give an outline of what is lined up today at the collaborated activity of Metaphor Literature Festival and Awadh Girls Degree College. We will of course be beginning with the lamp lighting and moving into the book launch. But soon after we have had a book launch and discussed the book, we have high tea for all of you, for all our guests. So we'd be very, very happy if you could stay back and join us for tea. I would now like to invite Ms. Sethi, the Vice President of Awadh Girls Degree College, to felicitate Ms. Vikkerjee the author of My Way, with a bouquet. We can do with a bigger round of applause. To please felicitate Ms. Vikkaji. So we have the lovely staff and faculty members of the Awadh Girls Degree College. Yes. So please come forward so that you can have your picture and.
I'm good. How are you?
It's a great moment that we are celebrating. Thank you.
Has made a debut as an actor and more to go. As all of us are striving so hard to return to normalcy, today marks a huge milestone for all of us at Lucknow and at our Girls Degree College, and definitely for our festival, as we do this first event of sorts within what is an ongoing and unrelenting pandemic. So we would like to start with the lighting of the lamp and invoking the blessings and love of whoever we hold dear as our gods. So may I request on stage, Ms. Vikkaji is already here, Mr. Jaideep Narayan Mathur, President of the Lucknow Expression Society, Mrs. Kanak Rekha Chauhan, the founder and director of the Metaphor Literature Festival, Dr. Rukma Chaturvedi, for lamp lighting. And Ms. Vikkaji will be more than happy to sign all your books. Ma'am is not. Ms. Vikkaji will be here on stage, and I hope you will all get your copies of My Way and get it signed by the author. My Way. But before we start the panel discussion, we felicitate all our authors with this chicken curry stole, which has become synonymous with the Metaphor Festival, as authors from across the globe come in and carry this stole back on stage in 2020. May we have a huge cheer, please, from our team members.
Namaste, Adab. So pleasant to see everybody here, everybody who's been to our festival, and very difficult circumstances, but जैसी जिंदगी है, लखनऊ वालों को जीना भी आता है, लड़ना भी आता है उससे. Zareen's book My Way, it is an anthem of a life lived with much feeling and much convictions. She has lived, loved and experienced life the way she wanted to, and that is why the name, My Way. When Zareen's friend used to tell us that she is such a great storyteller, she should write an autobiography, she would say, what? Autobiography? I think only great people wrote them, and I have no such claim. But let's ask Zareen that why did she think of writing the book? The book is actually, she still cannot call it autobiography. She says it's just some vintage of my life, some pleasant, some sad, some regretful. But people who know her and who have read that book, they know that these are the anecdotes from her life, just the way they were, not a word more, not a word less. People write autobiographies, but not everybody is Gandhiji to write a genuine, truthful account of their lives. And not everybody is Zareen either. One of the most genuine people we know. So let's ask Zareen, what made her write this beautiful book?
Actually, I'm quite overwhelmed. I'm standing or sitting rather in a hall where I have taught for many years. And I've always felt part of the college. And then, of course, when I left it at the ripe old age of 44, I was forced to come back onto the committee and by mainly Begum Hamida Habibullah. And I also accuse her of leaving me with the inheritance of being president of the society. There was nothing I could do to get out of it. The reason that I'm building this up is to let you know that I can be talked into things. I do things my way.
No, not many people will believe that she can be talked into doing things.
Many people don't know me and they'll come to know me through my book. I'm so happy to see that those of you who have taken the trouble to come in these terribly unforeseen times and you are here, and I would like to thank each one of you for sharing in this moment with me. And I'm happy to see some of my friends, the staff of course, my community, all the lovely Parsis from the Lucknow Parsi Anjuman, and so many others, students, etc., who have taken the trouble to come, and I'm really happy for it. I did get talked into writing this book because every time I sat down to talk about my past or my stories or my family or Lucknow, my friends would turn around and say, "Likhti kyun nahi ho? Likho na ki hum log padh sakein." So I said, "Chalo, everyone is saying likhti kyun nahi ho, to likhi dale." And then I started to write at the end of 2019, and I had no means of knowing how I'm going to get it typed because I was writing in longhand, and how I'm going to get it published, or what I'm going to be able to do to get this on the road, so to speak. As far as I was concerned, 2020 and the pandemic did not prove such an unfortunate year for me. Both the children, my sister's two children who otherwise never get to be with us for such long periods of time, and if they are, one of them is there, the other is not. But both of them came, and consequently my book gained momentum. Because I would keep narrating or writing and my nephew would keep typing, and it just went on and on. And before we knew it, we had what I thought was a sizable book, because you don't want to bore people with too many incidents also, and reading thick autobiographies. As Kanak said, this is a memoir. These are just happy, sad, frolicsome memories of life that I've lived pretty much my way, I'm afraid. So that's what got me to write. And then of course we got a press, Notion Press, to come on board, and they said they would take 2-3 months to edit, choose, send, and the usual. And lo and behold, while the pandemic was still on, my book is out, and I really can't believe it. There is only one minor hitch. A lot of my friends, and I have a lot of them, and most of them have ditched me today and are not here. Some of them are, and I'm very grateful to those who are. But a lot of my friends ask, where are we in the book? What have you written about us? And I said, see, these are memoirs, the first lot, that are dealing only with me, my profession, my family, my way. And perhaps if you continue to be as good friends to me as you have been in the past, I will write another one where I include all the friends and my various incidents. So many lovely memories, so many lovely thoughts, so many lovely and happy vignettes that I could write about my different friends. When you're writing about someone else, you are terrified. They don't want to have this part revealed. They don't want to have that said. They don't want to have this done. My family is quiet and lets me do what I want. So my family has accepted the book for what it's worth. And I hope that all of you who read it will enjoy it also. And that's as much as I wanted to really say about why I wrote the book.
Just talk to Zareen and ask her questions, which maybe all of us have been meaning to ask or wanting to ask about the book. I have read the book. I have had the privilege of reading the book before all of you have read it. So I do know a bit of it. So let me start by telling you that somewhere in the book, Zareen says that she doesn't ever use a note when she's speaking to people. And she describes an incident where she went for a debate. And that was the only debate which she did not win. So when she asked the judges why she fared so badly, they said that because you had a note with you. So she doesn't carry a note, I'm carrying a note, just I get carried away. And from my note I will ask her questions, and then we'll all ask her questions after that. So let me start by asking her, Zareen, this is such a happy book. I read the book. There are sad memories as well. There are memories of the time when you lost your parents. There are memories of a time when you lost a very close friend. But overall, it's a very happy book. It's a book which shows that you've lived life with no regrets. Now, about that, can you tell all our friends here about your life that you've lived with no regrets?
Well, no regrets, because as I mentioned over and over in my book, I had the most wonderful set of parents. Having been born in a period when there was a lot of restrictions on movements of girls, professions for girls to choose, parties that we could host, mixed parties with young men and young girls, dancing, films, picnics. I was never stopped from doing any of that. I was never told that no, this is not to be done. If they knew where I was, they knew with whom I was, they were happy. And they knew that I'd be back at a particular time, they were happy. And so obviously I got to live life fully. And a lot of my friends who used to come and party with us in our home have fond memories of my parents coming, having a dance or two and disappearing and leaving us pretty much to our own things. Also, a lot of my friends who wanted to throw parties would come and throw their parties in my house because there was no restriction, and their parents were happy that it was a supervised affair. So yes, it has pretty much been fun.
Yes, so it's been a great life which you've lived with no regrets. Now, the overwhelming part of the book, a large part of the book, is about your family, and which takes us to Lucknow and the Parsi connection. Your family, Zareen's family, was the first family that came to Lucknow, and she is, I think, the third generation, sixth generation now. And there was a very large Parsi community, which has diminished in size. Many of them, I think most of them, are now living in the Parsi Anjuman on Arif Bahadur Jimal. So Zareen, what is your reaction to this? Why are there such few Parsis? And of course, all of them lovely people, and you have been closely associated with them, and your book is a reflection of that. Could you tell us something about that?
When my great-great-grandfather came here in the reign of Muhammad Ali Shah, he was trading in silks and pearls from China. He loved Lucknow, and he was the first Parsi to settle in Lucknow, as those of you who have read the book or will read the book will know. Of course, once he settled in Lucknow, the trade changed, and they went into carriage manufacturing, and he was the only Parsi. So he called his friends from Damka, which is where they originated, doctor, lawyer, friends. Lucknow is a lovely city, come and see it. Come and see, experience it. And many of them came and they settled down. At the maximum, I think the Lucknow Parsi Anjuman numbered 200, starting from there. And now I'm afraid it numbers 40 something, if I'm not mistaken. But the reason for this is not that Lucknow is not suiting Parsis, it's just that Parsis are disappearing from the whole of India. And this would be a very long and not necessarily a very pleasant discussion, because I have very, very different views from the Bombay Parsi Panchayat on this. And I think that is the reason why the Parsi population is diminishing. And since it's diminishing everywhere and people here, some passed away, some got transferred out, some went out to earn a living. So at the end of it all, we are a happy 40 odd still surviving here and enjoying ourselves on our festivals and having a good time.
Yes. So there is a story. There is a story. What Kanak has
The carriage.
Yes, there's a story of a carriage in the book, which I think Zareen will have to tell us or read out to us. It's a story which got me in splits.
Actually, sorry. How do I manage a book, glasses, and a mic? With the passage of time, as I said, the family went into carriage manufacturing, horse-drawn carriages, very fancy carriages, cabriolets, Landos, Victorias, and such like. The most delicate of them was the cabriolet, and we used to be told stories by my mother of the eccentricity of the old aristocracy of Lucknow who would come to buy these carriages. Now there was a particular very well endowed Nawab, and his name typically was Nanne Nawab, and he was huge, and he wanted to buy this carriage. Nobody in the workshop could tell him कि साहब ये carriage आपके लायक नहीं है. The best they could say, आप कुछ और देख लीजिए, because no one could tell him कि आप इसमें अटेंगे ही नहीं. But he insisted that he wanted to buy this carriage. So with a lot of pushing and prodding and everything, he was loaded into the carriage. A rather largely endowed, yes. The sales staff tried hard to persuade him that this particular carriage was not befitting his stature, but he would have none of it. No one in true Lucknowi style could tell him that in fact he would not fit into the delicate vehicle. So the Nawab, with a few helpful nudges, forced himself into the narrow door. Unfortunately, he soon discovered to his discomfiture that this carriage was not for him. He also discovered that try as he might, he could not exit it. Pandemonium prevailed, and ultimately the door and part of the carriage was dismantled to allow the portly gentleman to alight. As children, this was one of our favorite tales. Other stories of such eccentricity from the houses of the Nawabs and the Begums, to which my grandparents would be invited for parties. One other story which, if you give me the freedom to read, once my grandmother was invited to the house of one of the Nawabs by the Begum for a ladies' lunch. The clock kept chiming out the hours, but no food was forthcoming. None of the guests inquired into the delay, nor did anyone leave the house. Finally, when the food, much to everyone's relief, was served, it was discovered that the delay was caused because the Begum had been displeased with the color of the pulao, and she had ordered the entire quantity to be given away and a new lot prepared, which naturally took a long time to get ready. So these kind of stories are what Lucknow was all about. This is what made Lucknow, Lucknow. And I personally do feel that it was a charming culture, which we enjoyed thoroughly while we heard of it, and my parents when they experienced it.
The book is essentially Lucknow that was in the last 7 decades. As if you have read the book, you would see that the life was no different than what it used to be in Bombay or Delhi of those times. Like going for dancing, dinners, Mayfair. I think you have some good memories to share. Like the other day,
Yes, so there is this there are these wonderful stories about Lucknow. Zareen grew up in a Lucknow of the 1950s and 60s and 70s, and you know that is the Lucknow which you read about in the book, and it recreates that completely. Now, well, the question that Kanak and I asked Zareen a few days ago was that has that Lucknow ceased to exist? That was a charming Lucknow which all of us who lived here knew about. This book recreates it. So we wanted to know from Zareen what she feels about that Lucknow which is fast disappearing.
I don't say that all of the charm of Lucknow has gone, but certainly the innate nazakat, nafasat, the culture has changed a lot. And the funny thing is that in those days, I mean 50s, no, Jaideep, I'm not that old, but 60s and 70s, when I was old enough to be taking part in such activities, like there were discotheques. There were 2 discotheques in Lucknow. There were dances held at the MB Club, at the Lamatnia Boys College, at the Young Men's Christian Association, where youngsters would mingle quite happily one with the other. There was no restriction of girls not being allowed, or girls being looked down upon, or girls not being part of fun and merrymaking. I was given a car on my 21st birthday as a gift which delighted me no end. And my friends and I, we would pile into this car. It was the only car in our group. And 10 of us, 12 of us would sit in this little Fiat. Some in the boot, some on the carrier, some inside. And we could drive all over Lucknow without anyone turning a hair. Whether it was daytime, whether it was nighttime, I mean, the culture was so wonderful. Today, I'm afraid if my niece steps out at night alone, I make one of the servants or the guard or the driver go along with her, which irritates her no end, because she's used to living in Bombay where they still have that culture. So it's very sad that instead of progressing from something nice, unfortunately, I won't say it has regressed, but it has changed.
The book also talks of wonderful holidays that you had in Nainital and in Mussoorie, and from the book it seems that a part of Lucknow exists even today in places like Nainital and Mussoorie, and you do still go there. You still go to Nainital often.
We do.
So that.
We used to have, you see, because the Boathouse Club in Nainital at that time, the Boathouse Club dance floor today is the Boathouse Club bar. Just as the Mohammed Bar Club dance floor today is the Tambola room. And that is the basic difference. But when the same group of friends would come from Lucknow, Delhi, Nepal, all over, people would come every year, year after year. We would be going to Nainital, earlier to Mussoorie, then to Nainital, and we would have wonderful times. So they were not people whom you necessarily met with in your own city. They were people who were your friends in Nainital. And that still continues, I'm happy to say. And I actually got my job. As I've written, I stumbled into teaching. I had no intention of becoming a college teacher. I thought it would be a very boring profession. I was thinking more in terms of, being an air hostess, traveling the world, doing any kind of exotic things. A lot of my friends thought I would go into the IAS. I had no such desire. But certainly, I stumbled into my profession, which I've narrated. I won't necessarily read, I'll just narrate it if you don't mind, because I am a narrator. And so we were having this holiday in Nainital, and we were sitting at the Boathouse Club deck, and we saw an advertisement in the Times advertising the post of English lecturer in Christ Church College, Kanpur. Now I said, how nice if I could get that job. I don't know why I said it. And my friend said, you will get that job? Ha ha, let's take a bet. You will never be able to get that job. So I said, okay, I'll apply from here only for it. And that's what I did. I had no my results were not out after my MA. My results were not yet out. And I had no testimonials, no papers to prove any of what I wrote in my form for asking for the job. And I posted it and then I forgot about it. I came back to Lucknow and I was called for an interview. And so if I was called for an interview, my mother said, if you're called for an interview, go and give it. So we went to Kanpur and we gave the interview. And of course, I'll leave you to read the rest of it, but that is where the history began. I will only add one more thing, that when I entered the room, there were 32 people waiting to be interviewed, all in alphabetical order. And you can understand where, with a name like Zareen Vikaji, I was. So for an interview that started 10 in the morning, I was interviewed at 8:30 at night. And it's only because my mother was with me that I stayed there to give that interview and get the job and win my bet when I went back to Nainital the next year.
What a story in the book, which I'd ask Zareen to please tell us. That is the story about how she got the job with Loreto. Apparently she'd come back after Kanpur and then she'll tell you now how she got the job with Loreto, which is a very, very interesting story.
So may I? Okay. So you will find it in the book with maybe slight different of words, but that's why I wrote the book anyway, because I told such stories. Yeah, so I got a very bad attack of gastroenteritis when I was living in Kanpur, and my parents were not happy that I should continue, because I had dietary restrictions and a lot of other troubles. So they asked me to give up the job after I completed 1 year at Christ Church College, Kanpur. So I gave up that job where I was very happy, but I gave it up because of health, basically, and I had to please my parents. So I came back and I had this Buick that I used to drive, and I was driving in front of Loreto, and a nun whom I did not recognize came flapping out of the Loreto gates and almost came under the wheels of my car. And I braked desperately and I looked at her and I said, what on earth is this lady trying to do harakiri under my car? And she came up to me and she said, are you Zareen Vikaji? I said, yes, mother, I am. They used to be called mother then, not sister. And she said, well, the English teacher here has just left the job midway because she got selected for the IAS. So, are you free? I said, yes, I am free. She said, here, tomorrow you're starting work in Loreto. And that's how I got my job. When I see how people today are struggling to get jobs, I got my first on a laugh because of a bet, and the second in Loreto because of a nun flapping in front of me. And of course, when Loreto changed hands and became Awadh, I was just fortunate that I had the marks to continue and I switched to Awadh. So each of my 3 jobs was in a very peculiar manner that I secured.
I think you even stumbled about choosing English as subject because though she wanted to take economics, it was only taught in Hindi. So she said, I better take
No,
English.
I loved English, but I had, if you follow the book, I had taken a trip abroad and I came back late for the term to join MA. And I had topped my economics paper, funnily enough, not the English paper. I had also done very well in English, but my highest marks were in economics. So I thought, let's try my hand at economics. And I joined the economics university, and everything was being taught in Hindi. And though my Hindi otherwise is totally flawless, which I'm sure you people will know and appreciate, but economics in Hindi, I mean, never hard. So the English department was on top. And so my friends were already studying in the English department, so I asked them, how's the English? Do they teach in English or Hindi? And they looked at me as if, anyway, half of my friends thought I was really cuckoo in the head. I gained this somber, serious attitude only after becoming a teacher. So anyway, I asked to be admitted there, and I was told that 1 month of phonetics, which was on the course for MA, had already been taught and the professor had already left and gone back to England. And it was a 40-mark direct question. I mean, it was a compulsory question. So I said, so what? I'll learn it on my own. And those words I ruled till the last moment, because nobody can learn phonetics without someone teaching them phonetics. And so I did complete my MA in spite of that. And I did get my jobs in spite of that. And I have enjoyed the process of teaching 22 years non-stop because of that.
That takes me to my next question. You've said in your book, and you just told us, that you gave up teaching when you were, at the ripe old age of 44. That's the time when, teachers come into their own and they come, they come home. Why did you give up? You have so many students who loved you and who respected you, so many colleagues, everybody wanting you on board with education. Why did you give up at the age of 44?
Because I lived life my way.
Yes. Which also takes us to another thing. I've been through this book, and there's lots in this book about teaching experiences both at Loreto and at Awadh. There is a lot of there are lots of stories of students and colleagues and teachers and principals. But after Zareen stopped teaching, gave up teaching, Zareen has been on the committee of Awadh Degree College, the Awadh Education Society, for many, many years. She's been the secretary and manager of the college, and now she is the president of the college. I didn't find a single story in the book about her experiences either as the manager or secretary of the college or as the president. Why is that, Zareen?
I actually am not really prepared to answer. Prepared meaning not that I don't want to, but I have no preparation in my mind why I didn't do it. It just happened. This book just flowed the way it did. As I said, even my friend said, "अरे हम लोग कहाँ हैं? हमारे बारे में ये आपने क्यों नहीं छापा? ऐसे क्यों नहीं किया? वो क्यों नहीं हुआ? ये क्यों नहीं हुआ?" So though I do have mentioned, I think, some incidents in the staff room and this and that, maybe God has planned that I write a sequel, and at that I will include all these things that I've left out.
So there is a part of the book which talks of Zareen's travels, and it's a very interesting part of the book because it recounts her experiences with friends whom she's made while she's traveling, and places that she's visited. Now, it seems that from a reading of the book, it seems that a person from Lucknow is comfortable wherever the person goes. Wherever Zareen has traveled, she's made friends and she's done it easily enough. How does she react to that? Did the Lucknow living and the way you were brought up make it easy for you to make friends even when you were traveling and when you went abroad?
The first long trip abroad was through an agency called the Experiment in International Living, which was introduced by Mr. Morarji Desai, under PL 480 scheme. So 80 students from all over India were selected to go to different parts of the country, different countries, and I was dying to go to Italy for a long stay. And a long stay in Italy is a very expensive proposition. But in this program, we were given a family stay for 10 days. And then we were given a 7-day tour of Italy. And after that, we were given the option that if we wanted to stay on, we could come back or we could stay on and travel to other countries also as students. So we went as representatives of India. So we had to wear a sari or Indian clothes. We had to know everything about our culture. We had to know all that kind of thing. So yeah, that's how it was. And I found no trouble at all amalgamating with my Italian family. In fact, it was one of the most charming family stays I've ever had with anyone. I didn't know them at all. They were so welcoming, so warm, I was so happy living with them, and it just worked out beautifully.
Was there a language?
Two people in Teramo, that's the city where I had my homestay, about 5 people spoke English. So often not many of my students are in the hall today, but if they were, they would remember. I always have this habit of speaking with my hands, even lecturing with my hands. And throughout I've had students coming to me for years after I gave up teaching, not talking about what I taught them, but about my hand movement, which made me wonder कि आप मेरे हाथ देख रहे थे कि मैं जो बोल रही थी वो सुन रहे थे. And so this was because of the Italian stay, because you can communicate so much when you are speaking one word at a time from a dictionary, conversion dictionary, English, Italian, Italian, English. So much you can convey by hand movement. And we managed pretty well. Plus I was very lucky, in my family the father and one of the girls spoke English. So I was perfectly comfortable.
So which takes us to the question which all of us wanted. Meera Nair came to Lucknow for the Super Bowl. So Surbhi has just told us about the Suitable Boy. When you were auditioned for the Suitable Boy, and there's a bit of it in the book as well. What exactly happened, and what was the experience like? I mean, you've been in films actually. Very few people we actually know who have been in films, of course, for a short while, as you said. But what was the experience
As a
like?
matter of fact, this is the second film I've done. And the first film I did was a film called Monica, and I have a much larger role in it. And I did it many years ago for a friend. This one I had no intention of going at all for an audition for a film. As usual, I was driving down from Lucknow and from Nainital, and I received a call from an unknown number saying, "Ma'am, Meera Nair is shooting in Lucknow for a Suitable Boy, and they want English-speaking people to help with English speaking." So I thought it was to do with coaching in English or something like that. I didn't know it was for a role. So when I landed up there with my sister who's guilty of forcing me into many things after my mother. So she said, I said there was a studio and there was cameras and action, and I said, listen, I didn't come for all this. She said, ma'am, ab aayi gayi hai, to please give the audition. So of course, Madam Rudy said, give the audition. So I gave the audition, and I thought nothing is going to come of it, and I came away. Lo and behold, again, after everything in my life has happened by lo and behold. I've never planned anything. Everything important that has happened by chance, as you will see. So I came away, and then I got a call again to say that Meera Nair loved your audition, and she wants to audition you herself. So again I told my family, listen, I'm not going to go to meet Meera Nair and make a damn fool of myself. Please make some excuse, say I've fallen ill, say I've got a running stomach, say anything. But I'm not going. But no, I had to go, lo and behold. And Meera Nair is one of the most charming human beings you can hope to meet. And she was a Lorettowite. She loved Parsis. She loved Dhansa. क्या था फिर उसके बाद तो ऐसे अच्छा चलो ऑडिशन दे ही देखते हैं, and of course I shot for many days. Unfortunately, I saw a lot of people in Lucknow shot for Meera Nair's series, but a lot of them are not there in it at all, or some of them have got truncated, and even my role I shot for many days and said much more than I eventually speak on screen. But Kismat, as I said, everything happens by chance, so that's all right. I'm very happy.
What was your experience with the makeup and hairstyling?
अच्छा देखिए, आप कुछ तो छोड़िए कि जो पब्लिक पढ़े. हम सभी कुछ बता देंगे तो किताब तो उन लोग खरीद के किनारे रख देंगे.
ये बाल वाला बता दीजिए थोड़ा सा, आपके शब्दों में ज्यादा अच्छा लगेगा.
बाल वाला ऐसे हुआ कि I was actually given a vanity van, which thrilled me no end. Because my nephew is an actor, And he always talked about his vanity van. And we also read about film stars and their vanity vans. So I couldn't believe that I had my name on a vanity van which was mine. And which I had to share with one other one other actor, co-actor. So every morning we were called and we were sent to hair and makeup section for our hair to be styled and makeup done to the face. Now since the age of I think 3, I have had the same hairstyle. My hairstyle has never changed. I've never had long hair or shorter hair or anything. As I was telling Kanak the other day, in those days this hairstyle used to be called a feather cut. And I've had a feather cut all my life. This hi-fi hair designer from Bombay, a gentleman called Walter, who I believe people have months of waiting to get an appointment with, was my hair designer. And he made a parting and he flattened my hair on one side and he flattened it on the other side. And I was looking at the mirror and saying, you know, this man doesn't know anything about hairdressing. But I kept quiet because I also know when you must keep quiet. So I kept quiet and I went on to the set. And Mia Nair somehow saw me coming and she came to me and she said, "Hi, good morning, and how are you? Hey, what did you do to your hair?" I said, "I didn't do anything to my hair. Your hairdresser did it to my hair." She said, "I don't like it." I said, "Well, I don't know what to do with it now." She said, "Hold on." And she dug into her purse and pulled out a brush. She looked at it both ways and she said, "It's not very dirty. Please brush your hair back the way you make it." So poor Walter, that was the end of Walter's hairdressing, and I went back to making my hair as I wanted. My way. My way.
So this is what all of us are going to now read after we've got our copies of the book, because it's actually very, very interesting, all of it. One last question, Zareen. When will you write a book which is a sequel to this about your friends and those people who are not mentioned in the book? All of us are dying to be there. So please let us know when you plan to do it and how you plan to do it. We don't have to wait till the next pandemic.
And in a typical tongue-in-cheek manner, not this.
Yes.
Tongue-in-cheek manner to ho hi jayega if I'm writing, I suppose. Lekin whether I write a sequel or when I write a sequel, I think I'll leave that one thing not to my way. Let's see. If God plans that I do, I will. I will. I'd love to talk about my friends because they are not really, they haven't been done justice to in this memoir. So perhaps I will.
So we look forward to that. And thank you very much for talking about your book and about your way, and to all of us. And we are all your friends who are waiting to be in the next book of yours. Thank you very much, Zareen. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
I'm already in love with this book and the Lucknow which we could hear snippets of. I must say my growing up years here were very different from what I hear today on stage, and that difference is not just the shifting of the MV Club dancing floor to the Tambola room. I think most of the 90s kids can talk about that, or even the later kids now. So do we have any questions?
Or any experiences?
Yes.
Yes, Dr. Noor Khan has a question or maybe a comment.
Mine is more like a comment. Zareen, in the course of a conversation, wondered aloud whether any student... So, a special congratulations to you from your ex-students. This is the hall where you lectured us, and this is the hall where we were witness to all your hand movements. And perhaps you are the reason why I went into the teaching profession also.
Thank you so much, Noor. It's so sweet.
And I call you ma'am for 30 years. It's only the last 10 years that I plucked up courage and started calling you Zareen.
You know, they travel all over the world, many, many countries. And any country that I've gone to, from some corner or the other, someone says, "Ma'am." It's amazing how much the Loreto and Awadh girls have proliferated all over the world. And I was perfectly happy meeting them, say in France or Italy or London or any of such places. But when I went to Vietnam, someone also said "ma'am." And I said, "Ye to bahut ho gaya." I said, "What the hell are you doing here?" But yes, it's a word that is very sweet to my ears, and I know a lot of my students. I am very fond of each one of them. I never could remember names or relate them necessarily to the human being who had the name, but that did not mean that I cared any the less for you, and I really enjoyed teaching you all over the years.
To live up to in the department. Ma'am has been associated with the department, and now I'm here. Under the patronship of ma'am, the college is doing wonderfully well. Now, what I wanted to say is Destiny certainly has played a very, very important role from one person who has been your student to another who could have been your student. Because I have done my education from Kanpur, from Christ Church College. So my regrets on that account, that perhaps had you stayed back a little longer, maybe I too could have taken the privilege of saying that you taught me. And then Loreto, but then I do have a privilege of teaching here in the department where you have left your mark. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
See the release of this book, My Way. And when I heard about it, I was reminded of the song which I quoted for you, which I think you exemplify. The song says, I lived a life that's full. I traveled each and every highway, but more, much more than this, I did it my way. So that is what you are, Zareen. I'd like all of you to know that we have had a wonderful legacy of a very strong bond of friendship between our families, which goes back to 3 generations.
Yes, yes.
I know Zareen is a fun-loving person who lights up every get-together with her, I would say, a magnetic presence, charismatic presence. She's a lot of fun to be with. And you have to have a thick skin because you could be the butt of her humor.
I was wondering when that would come, Amrita.
But on another note, I'd like to say that I knew you as an older, as your sisters.
Yes, yes.
Through your sister Ruby and I studied together, so
yeah.
The elder friend. And always very gentle and generous and of course humorous. But lo and behold, one fine examination day, she was the invigilator at Isabella Thoburn College. And she came down where I was sitting and said, be careful, I'm looking at you. So then I was careful, but then I did make her run. Because every half an hour I raised my hand for another copy, which she did and whispered, good luck. Thank you for that, Zareen.
Thank you, Amrit. Them too. They are saying things because they feel it, and as I feel for them, Jaideep is someone else whom we go back 3 generations, and we go back 3 and 4 and 5 generations with so many people in Lucknow. That is what is the wonder of Lucknow. And that is what is the bonding in Lucknow. No matter if Lucknow changes, this bond is not going to be changed.
It was a student-teacher relationship, and today we are very good friends. But still, whenever it suits her, she still tries to intimidate me by saying, "Maine tumhe padhaya hai, you behave yourself."
That is blatantly unfair, Madhavi. I am so good to you all the time.
So I have bought the book today and had it autographed because I was mortally frightened of what would happen to me if I didn't. Many, many congratulations, Zareen. I shall start reading the book today and probably read through the night.
Thank you. It's not very long.
Totally unput down.
It's a very easy read. It's a very easy read. Very, very racy. You know, it's nice to read.
I'm Sharad Sharma. The role you have with us is a marvelous landlady. There's hardly any person I have seen that who allows tenants so much of liberty and things. And the person you have, the landladies, are just marvelous. I must appreciate it. But my meeting with you just doesn't go about land and this thing. It goes back sometime when you were learning guitar in one Mr. A.P. Sen Road, where you also used to go there. I met two young ladies, young girls, and just got to and thought about it. Suddenly they stopped coming. And I wonder whether I'll be able to see them again. I never knew that I will become a tenant one day of those. Thank you. Marvelous. Congratulations.
Yes, I did learn the Hawaiian guitar for some time, and I enjoyed playing it. And I still remember a play when I was a student in Loreto, where one of the nuns who taught me, whom I have very fond memories, Mother John Berkman, insisted that I play the guitar on stage, totally unconnected to the story of the play. But she said, "But you play the guitar." I said, "Yes, Mother, but there's nothing about a guitar in the whole play. Never mind, we'll call you in to play as a guest performer." I said, "Okay." So I played "Sail Along Silvery Moon."
Good evening, ma'am. I've heard you speaking about it today. I am sure that it will have a wonderful read to it. My question to you is that through your book, do you have any message for the youth or the student body?
In the last chapter, when I'm closing the book, very upset with the way the world is going. The troubles that we are facing, the divisions that we are seeing, the pain of things that which are happening, where the world is being divided, there's so much hatred, there's so many wars. And yes, I end with a hope that all this kind of unshan, for a better word right now, should cease, and that the younger generation should be able to live the kind of life that I've had the fortune of living. Yes.
And I have one thing to ask. You've called yourself shy in the book, which is so hard to believe. I mean, I haven't known you for years and years, but since I do know you for the last 20 years, I think, ever since I came to Lucknow with Loreto Alumni Association. I mean, I came for that meet, and I was so in awe of you, like your hand gestures. I didn't know such beautiful fingers and the red nail paint. Sorry, I mean, I was like, I always thought after Calcutta was, I don't know where I'm going and the kind of people I'll be meeting. But I came for this meet, I knew no one except Mother Jude, and then I saw her on the stage. I was in awe of Ma'am Vikaji, and since then I've learned so much from her. But when I read in the book that she calls herself a shy person. Ma'am, when were you shy? I mean, or was there a turning moment? And secondly, one more question, like, I don't know, I mean, there are others who've known you for so many years, but I think everyone is very careful. At least I would always, stand in attention after hearing you that I'm from Loreto and I better be careful of my diction and my language. But, and you're so perfect. But is there anyone that you were kind of, while you were growing up, you had to face this, oh, I should be careful, or you were just gifted and you were just...
You were just gifted with...
I don't paint them red anymore in deference to my age. But, if you read the book, you will see, yes, I was a very shy person. When I first joined Loreto as a student in KG or class 1. And I owe, whatever I owe of my personality, I must say, and I have admitted it in my book, to my mother, who made it her one-point program that I should not be shy, and I should be able to project myself and speak the way I do. And she had the most perfect diction. If she spoke from behind a screen, people thought it was an English woman talking. So maybe because of that, and maybe because we did have an anglicized atmosphere at my home, we still do, and many Parsis do. And perhaps that added to it, but I never meant to intimidate anyone. I have met students, some of whom who openly say they had a great fun in my classes. And some of them who still say that, ma'am, but we were very frightened. Now the reason why they were frightened was A, I didn't like people coming late, and B, I didn't like people talking when I'm talking. I mean, either I'm talking or you're talking. I'm going on saying life was always my way. So I perhaps grew out of that shyness, but sometimes it still overtakes me. You'll be surprised.
It's one of the best past pupil associations right now. Not only, I mean, and amongst all the Loretos, we are told by the nuns, Loreto Alumni Association is doing the best. So thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
So while we wait for another question, I would actually like to add to what, and as soon as I saw Miss Vikaji with her red fingernails, now I see that she's not painted them anymore. I hate my stubby fingers, you know, where I used to chew on my nails, and I was like, oh my god, I cannot speak here. And usually I don't carry notes when I speak on stage, but today, since it was your book launch, I wrote it out, I rehearsed it in front of the mirror, and I'm sure I still made far too many mistakes, so I'll go back home and review it.
Come on, Surabhi.
No.
And my nails are painted, please. They're painted pink.
And today I want to hold like this.
Yeah, it's been good knowing you all, and it's so lovely to feel warm, happy, large family. And that's what I absolutely love about coming back to this college. All the people that I meet with, all my friends in general. It's been a good life. Touch wood.
Thank you, Zari.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jaideep Narayan Mathur and Ms. Kanak Rekha Chauhan for this lovely session, and all of you. It was like an open discussion, and a book and an author we know always adds to these book discussions than the formal meetings we normally hold. May I now invite the Lucknow Expression Society and the Metaphor team for a picture with the author, since our president and our founder director are already on stage. So, Deepthi Grover, Asif, Parul, Deepa, Mr. Japal, Poonam Motwani, Yashwant, and all his team of lovely volunteers. A huge round of applause for our volunteers who constantly slog backstage. Have I missed out on anyone?
कुछ लोग सर हाँ रेडी
Have a picture with Ms. Vikaji, the author of My Way. May I also remind everyone in the audience that books are available at the venue. Should you wish.
रुके रहिएगा
I request all of you to, because request just for 2 minutes. A very good evening to each and everyone present here. On behalf of our Girls Degree College, I extend my heartfelt congratulations to Ms. Zareen Vikaji, our president, on the release of her book, My Way. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing some of your fond memories with us. You are an inspiration for all of us, and I'm sure this book on your wonderful journey will motivate and guide us. I express my sincere thanks to Ms. Zareen Vikaji's family members and managing committee members of our Girls Degree College, especially Ms. Sethi, Dr. Amrita Das, Dr. Noor Khan, Dr. Rashida Zahir, who are present here. Thanks are due to Metaphor, the Lucknow Lit Fest, a brilliant culmination of art 2013. Due to the ongoing pandemic situation, this Lit Fest could not be held in the usual large scale this year together and I'm glad that it had turned out to be such a memorable one. Thank you so much. Lucknow Expression Society and Lucknow Lit Fest and our legal advisor of Awadh Girls Degree College. I am thankful to Ms. Kanak Rekha Chauhan, Vice President and Founder Director, Lucknow Expression Society, Ms. Surabhi Modi Sahai for conducting the program with such brilliance. My special thanks to Khushi Sachdeva, student of Awadh Girls Degree College, for live screening of the program, and Sneha Yadav for the beautiful rendition of the Saraswati Vandana. I am thankful to the members of Lucknow Expression Society, guests, faculty, staff and students of Awadh Girls Degree College, and our friends from the media. Thank you all once again for attending the program and making it a success. Thank you so much.
That's Niharika's doing. Most of it is Niharika's doing. That's a very challenging journey to get Lovely, congratulations.